Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my wife for her jokes about me not helping around the house or with our baby? My wife and I both work, only difference is, she actually goes into the office and I'm still working from home. We have a 10-month-old daughter and I've been basically a stay-at-home dad on top of working my regular day job. It was stressful as hell when my wife finished up her maternity leave, but luckily my work is pretty flexible so I'm not usually super busy. Most of the day, I'm replying to emails on my phone with my daughter in her carrier or taking conference calls while she's napping. I also do the cleaning around the house because I'm a total neat freak, and order or cook dinner too if I have the time. Then in the evenings, my wife takes over so I have some leisure time. On Sunday, we went to have lunch at her sister's house. First time we've all seen each other in a while. They ask us how life's going with the new baby, and my wife starts jokes about the house being a mess when she gets home and her having to clean it up, because I've been too busy playing with our daughter all day to do it myself. When her sister's husband asked how I manage, I admitted it does get overwhelming sometimes, and my wife once again chimed in saying I call her constantly throughout the day over little things. Like not being able to find our daughter's binky, or needing her help because daughter won't stop crying and I have no idea what to do. She also laughed about how every day when she gets home, she just prays I didn't burn the house down. I know it was all said in a light-hearted joking around way, but it really hurt my feelings. Everyone was chuckling except me, so my wife kissed my cheek telling not to take it too seriously, and she appreciates that I put in the effort. So I straight up told her, well, I don't appreciate you acting like I'm useless when I'm the one at home taking care of her all day and cleaning the house. My wife didn't know how to respond to that and we changed the subject. She was in a serious mood after we left, because I embarrassed her and it wouldn't have hurt for me to let her joke around a little, because she knows I help out a lot. I've been distant with her, not talking much when she gets home and she's mad at me for taking it too seriously. Even her sister says I'm overreacting, but I just don't see why she thought it was okay to paint me as the cliché useless man-child husband. Now I have my wife saying I'm being a bit of an A for still holding this against her, and she doesn't see why it's a big deal to me. Part of me just feels hurt and I'd like an apology, but another part wonders if I am being an A for how I'm acting with her. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Put it this way, if the situation was flipped, and you were the salary man and your wife was a stay-at-home mom, how would those comments go down in front of her family? Would they still find it funny that you're implying that the mother of your child was useless at home? If it's not funny in reverse, it's not funny. She needs to apologize for undermining you, then you guys can move forward. He's not even a stay-at-home parent, he is a work-from-home parent, who juggles working with caring for the kid. Which is 2 full-time jobs worked simultaneously. And he cleans. Wife should be loudly singing his praises, rather than cutting him down because she's insecure with the knowledge that he is doing the lion's share of the work on weekdays. Not the a-hole, but your wife sure is. She's undermining your efforts. You're doing your best, man, and it's only a joke if it's funny to both parties. Otherwise, it's just being mean. Your wife need take a second and wonder why she's embarrassed. Here's the answer. Because she knows you told the truth, and she's embarrassed you called her out instead of going along with her jokes that makes her look like the better parent. You keep doing what you're doing, and make sure to have a serious talk with her when tempers are a little calmer, alright? You sound like a good dad, by the way. Not the a-hole. She doesn't see why it's a big deal to me. That's because she has no idea of how much you do during your work hours. Not playing with the kid hours, or cleaning hours, or cooking hours. Work hours. You're amazing for being able to juggle work in there, but she shouldn't joke about it. She was belittling you and your hard work. That isn't a joke. And then to act like you embarrassed her, after all the times she embarrassed you? Piff. Not the a-hole. She probably feels guilty and insecure about being a working mom and you being the primary caretaker, because hello, she is a woman and lives in a society that expects things to be the other way around. She is an a-hole for taking it out on you and needs to take responsibility for her actions and apologize to you. You two need to sit down and discuss things and you are indeed owed an apology. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my daughter's mother her secret words? Cast, me, male 36, my daughter Clara, female 12, my ex-wife Sarah, female 37. Few backstory details. Sarah and I got married when Clara was born, and separated when she was 6 years old. Clara spends her time 50-50 between us with 2-week splits. We both live in the same city so her friends and schooling are consistent, and not constantly switching back and forth. The event in question. This all started when I read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien to Clara 2 years ago. We talked about how he was a linguist and had actually created several languages from scratch for the story. This captured my daughter's imagination. She has been obsessed with linguistics ever since, and I have been happy to provide as many texts and information as I can. Almost all of it is for higher level students. But I do my best to help her understand it. I am definitely not a linguist and she definitely knows more than me at this point. For about a year she has been creating her own language which she calls Nista. I think that's the spelling. It is only verbal. This language isn't just English with different sounds for the different words. It is actually a new language. She has created different conjugations, syntax, and grammar. Just one example is a bunch of different suffixes to indicate emotion that can be attached to any word. Clara and I speak Nista together for probably about 60% of our conversations. It is the highlight of my entire life. I cannot believe how creative my daughter is. Sarah remarried 5 years ago, and I haven't been in a relationship since we divorced. Clara prefers her time at mine, something I definitely don't encourage. I want her to be happy at both, but she has never been comfortable around her stepdad and stepbrother. I think he is around the same age as her, but I'm not positive. I knew that Clara had never taught Sarah any Nista, which I was selfishly kinda happy about. I loved having this language that only me, my daughter, and her friends shared. However, when Sarah dropped Claire off this week, she informed me that she hadn't spoken anything but that gobbledygook for the entire 2 weeks she was with her. Sarah then demanded that I teach her the secret words. I refused and explained that if Sarah wanted her to know any Nista, I stressed its name because Sarah kept disparaging it, she would have taught her it. I then closed the door in her face. Sarah texted me saying there could be an emergency and she would need to know. I said that she still knows English if there is an emergency. I have talked to her teachers at school. Her English teacher said that Clara has shown her the language, but only briefly. In all of her classes, including English, she speaks English. Thinking it over, I don't know if I did the right thing or not. This is a massive part of our daughter's life, and one that she isn't letting her mother into. She has told me that she wants to go to college for linguistics, so this isn't anything temporary. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? No a-holes here. Here's the thing. It's not really hard to guess why Clara prefers your house. Kids don't generally like it when their parents move on after a divorce. A lot of times it feels like a betrayal to them. Sarah has done this, and Clara isn't happy with it. She doesn't want another parent and sibling, she wants her parents. You haven't dated, so in her eyes at least, you are the only parent is completely devoted to her. I know it bothers you that Sarah seems so unsupportive of Clara's language, but to you it's a purely happy thing, an example of your child's brilliance and creativity. For Sarah, it's a constant reminder that Clara prefers you and that she is being excluded from a big part of her child's life. That's not your fault, but I'm sure you can see why that makes her a bit resentful of the language, especially after 2 weeks Clara using it intentionally to alienate her. All that being said, I don't think you should teach Sarah the language. To Clara, it will be a massive betrayal, and it won't solve the problem of why she's doing this. Do the best you can to encourage a positive relationship with her mom and stepfamily. Communicate as much as possible with Sarah about how Clara is doing and what's going on in her life, and get Clara into some counseling if you can to help her deal with her feelings. I think the solution here is to help get Clara to the point where she's not wanting to alienate herself from her mom and stepfamily anymore. If you just take away her means, she will simply find a new way to do it and be that much angrier at all of you. This is an extremely insightful comment, thank you. Not the a-hole. You sound like a great dad and she sounds like an awesome kid. As long as she is doing well in school and socially, I wouldn't worry. Sounds like things are becoming an issue at the other house though? You might want to talk to her about what's going on and how she is feeling. That's definitely true, she is having stronger and stronger feelings about not wanting to be there. Not the a-hole, as it's your child's creation and she's free to share it with whoever she wants. It is not your obligation to teach your ex. That being said, a conversation with your daughter about when it is appropriate to use the language may be in order. Refusing to talk to her mother in English is not a good thing, and at 12 she's old enough to realize what she is doing. Yeah, she definitely knew what she was doing. She told me that she wanted to make them feel how she feels around them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not sharing son's investment account with daughter? Hey all. My son was born in 2000 and I shortly afterwards opened up an investment account with the intentions of handing it off to him after he graduated college to give him a head start in life. Wife loved the idea. I put in $10,000 initially and started adding $100 monthly, and the account sits at over $60,000 today. A majority of it was just put into mutual funds, and some months I'd take the $100 and toss it into riskier stocks that didn't really pan out. Yes, I learned my lesson that if you're not making this a career, just toss it into funds. When our daughter was born 2 years later, I started up an account for her as well. About a year in, wife and I got drunk with friends and the topic of investing came up. Wife said something silly along the lines of anybody can invest, and it became a lengthy discussion at the beach with all our friends chiming in. In the end, wanted to take over daughter's investment account and manage it to show me how easy investing was. We discussed it at length over the following weeks and she dug her heels in, so I relented and gave her control. Long story short, that account sits at just over $16,000 for 2 reasons: because she picked bad, individual stocks instead of funds, and she wasn't adding to the account at the start of the month. Well, we had a blowout fight about a week ago after I mentioned to our son that he was going to inherit a bunch of money once he graduates this spring. Naturally, our daughter wanted to know if and how much she was going to receive. I mentioned that of course I'd done the same for her, but she'd have to ask mom, as I wasn't about to be the one to set that ticking time bomb off. After wife showed the numbers, the meltdown happened, and then she told our daughter we'd just combine the accounts and split them equally. At this point, I flipped a lid and explained we'd definitely not do that because in her everybody can invest BS, she'd insulted how difficult investing was and needed to deal with the ramifications of poor choices in investing. We've not had a meaningful discussion since, we've been cold to one another since, and our daughter is mad at us for the significantly smaller account she stands to inherit. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My wife had full control of the accounts. I would ask her how it's going, and she was telling me the account was doing well. I trusted her, so I did not ask to log into the account to see for myself. My son's account had $14,700 in it at the time of the challenge. My daughter's account had roughly $11,000 in it. I'm halfway tempted just to give them each $15,000, and take the rest and buy myself a new truck, seeing as how I've become the bad guy. There, they get the same amount and I reward myself for successful investing. Probably the only happy person in this equation then, but I'm mind blown at all the attacks. Since most of you say I should just split the 2 accounts in half, I've decided on a fair solution. I will split the money with both kids, but I will give them all the statements from both accounts, and show them that the $37,000 each they're getting could have been about $60,000 each if not for their mother's poor investment choices. It's their money, they have a right to know what happened to it. Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. What is wrong with you? You want to teach your wife a lesson by making your daughter, a completely innocent party, pay the price? How in the world is that fair? And what kind of lesson are you teaching your daughter? That she'll be straddled with $45,000 of extra debt because mom and dad made a drunken bet and are horrible at talking about finances with each other? This isn't something that happened overnight, these are decades-long investment decisions. After the first couple years of your silly experiment, you could have sat wife down, looked at the numbers together, and had her admit that investing isn't so easy, if that was the whole point of this. Why did you let it go on for so long? Because your pride is more important to you than your daughter's future? You and wife screwed it up, the 2 of you need to fix it. You can commingle the funds. You can make wife take out a loan to replenish the difference, and she can pay that loan back slowly by herself. Figure something out. But it is not fair to make daughter pay the price of your stupid mistake. Edit. I'm tempted to change my vote to you're the a-hole after reading OP's edits. Apparently his pride simply will not allow him to grasp why he would possibly be at fault, and still trying to dump 100% of the blame on his wife. OP, in case it wasn't clear, your wife is an a-hole for her horrible investment choices and not contributing to the fund. But you're a bigger a-hole for letting this bet go on for 17 years, never bothering to check daughter's account, and trying to justify it by saying you trusted your wife when she said she's doing fine. Clearly you did not trust your wife when she first said that investing is easy. You could have stepped in to avoid this mess, but you placed your pride and need to be right over the happiness of your entire family. That's why you're an a-hole. And you're now a bigger a-hole for failing to recognize why you're an a-hole despite the hundreds of comments explaining this plain truth to you. Everyone sucks here. So, just to be clear on this, you're going to punish your daughter for your wife being bad at investing and to prove a point that you're better at it? Your wife screwed up, everyone knows it, which is why she is also an a-hole. But let's be clear. This isn't your son's money. It's not like he gave it to you to invest on his behalf. It's all your money. What you do with it is up to you, but you are going to cause a huge split in the family if you don't find some way to share that money between both your children. You're the a-hole. You should have pulled the plug on bad investing years ago. It's absolutely unfair to have $60,000 compared to $16,000. You're not proving a point, you're hurting your child. Added to add, the fact that you let this go on for 17 years is absolutely insane. And your third edit is exactly why this is you're the a-hole. You still suck more than your wife, and you're still putting yourself above your kids. The last story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they can speak about what made me happier?" My parents are divorced. They divorced when I, 15 female, was 6. Both of them are married again to other people, and I have 2 huge blended families on either side. My mom has 3 more kids and 7 step-kids, while my dad has 4 more kids and 2 step-kids, and is raising his wife's 2 nieces. I also have a brother who was 8 when our parents divorced. We both have pretty similar thoughts on the whole thing. We're sad our family didn't work out, we'll always wish it had, would have been easier for us if it had in some ways, but we know they are happier and better off apart. Back before lockdown, when schools were still open, we had to do this personal essay. And I did mine on how complicated it is to have divorced parents and be part of blended families. I spoke about how I wished it was different, how I knew it was better overall, and just in general how it can be hard to have that change in your life and how going between houses and stuff is not fun or easy. Anyway, my parents didn't like it, and well, they decided to talk to me about how I was happier since the divorce and why would I write that way when I know it's true. I told them it was far more complicated than it was for them. They said but now I have 4 parents instead of 2. And I told them it's a lot more complicated than that. It's been a thing ever since. They keep trying to tell me how I feel and how the blended families make me happier because I have more people to love. They believe my relationship with my step-parents is the same, on the same level as with them, and that I feel the same about the step and half siblings as I do my brother. So I sat both of them down recently and told them they cannot speak for my feelings. That I'm allowed to have complicated feelings on the whole thing. I'm allowed to miss my original family unit, when things were simple and I didn't have to move between 2 houses and 2 families. I told them they're my parents but they're not the people who dictate my emotions, and they would push me away if they kept that crap up. They're pissed for how I handled the conversation, saying I was threatening them with estrangement, and basically dismissing the fact they are my parents and get to make decisions that they know is right for me. I told them it was very different. That I didn't say they shouldn't have divorced, but they cannot say how I feel about it. Things are weird now and I'm wondering if I did go too far. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You handled it well with maturity. Thank you for saying that. You are entitled to your feelings. They belong to you and no one else, and your parents cannot dictate how you feel. That's basically what you told them because it's true. They need to accept that and move on. My husband did a similar thing when we got married. Anytime I talked about my feelings he told me don't say that. One day I got fed up and told him I am entitled to feel my feelings, and by him telling me not to say whatever, is him invalidating my very real feelings. Fortunately, my husband is a smart man and hasn't said anything that's stupid to me since. You keep pointing out that your feelings are, 1, valid, and 2, yours, and let your parents stew in their own opinions. You are 110% not the a-hole here. Keep being logical and respectful whenever your parents bring up this topic, and eventually they'll see the light, or you'll turn 18 and you can go on your merry way. Good luck. Not the a-hole. Kinda sounds like your parents are feeling guilty about how their divorce impacted you, but instead of dealing with their own emotions they decided to change yours. Which they can actually do. They feel attacked by what you said instead of seeing it as a simple statement of facts. Your parents are showing why they couldn't make their marriage work. You're really mature and have an amazing grasp of the reality of casual divorce. And you're not an a-hole. Casual divorce. I agree with not the a-hole, but I don't think the parents are a-holes for divorcing. I don't think it's fair to criticize them for that, especially with not much to go on beyond them being a-holes to OP, and OP thinking they are happier and better off apart. I'm not sure if you think they divorced too casually or I'm reading more into your phrasing than was intended. They said, but now I have 4 parents instead of 2. I don't know, 20 kids between 4 parents, versus 2 kids between 2 parents, seems like you have less numerically. Yep. Less quality time, less space and less room to breathe honestly. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.